All right, we can go ahead and get started just to respect everyone's time. Welcome to Mindful Mornings. This is a platform that myself and Rita kind of came up with based off of the work we did back in 2020. So we had a lockdown on campus. Everyone was working from home at the time, and we thought we better offer something for people to start their day. And it originated just in a small group. And it started growing and growing, and we thought, well, this is a great opportunity to share what we do. So, alongside Rita Clanton, we worked together for about the past 10 years or so on a platform centered around mindfulness. And we're in the School of Kinesiology. We look through a kinesiology lens, meaning we talk about respiration, we talk about hydration, nutrition, movement, and recovery. And those are what we refer to as our pillars of performance and health. So those 5 pillars are going to be our programmatic approach for the next 5 weeks. So as you saw in the information sent out from the college and from Miranda, you'll see that the first week will be all about respiration, week 2, hydration, and so on and so forth. So it's very informal. Don't feel like you have to attend every session. If you can, that would be great, just because you can follow us along this journey. And generally speaking, Tuesdays will be information and Thursdays will be application. So I'm going to turn it over to Rita to kick us off with some perspective.
Thanks, Ford, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start by sharing a quote by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who is the founder and director of the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Clinic at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. And he writes, "In our society, most of our lives we're absorbed in doing, in getting things done, in rapidly going from one thing to the next, or multitasking, attempting to juggle a bunch of different things at the same time. We live to check things off our to-do list, then fall into bed exhausted at the end of the day, only to jump up the next morning to get on the treadmill once again." He says, we call ourselves human beings, but if we're not careful, it's all too easy to fall into becoming more of a human doing than a human being and forget who is doing all the doing and why. If we forget about the who, if we forget about the doer, we run the risk of using more of our personal resources than we replace, and then we get out of balance. The stress of being on the treadmill begins to gradually break us down, but we don't realize it because it's become our way of life. Can anybody relate to that? I think we all can on some level. Just the pace and volume of activity associated with today's 24/7, 365 technologically interconnected world can be a little overwhelming at times, like a perpetual treadmill of doing that can often leave us reacting more to life instead of responding and initiating, and then perhaps left wondering at the end of the day where all the time went. So in this life scenario where everything seems so compressed and urgent, what's missing? It's just space. It's just the breathing room that could allow us to meet life with more equanimity. And that's important because within the balance of equanimity, that has the space for us to access more energy, more mental clarity and focus, and even more creativity to bring to all of our doing. But the question is, how do we create that space? Well, it helps to start with the understanding that as human beings, in every aspect of our lives, we thrive when we're in balance. So perhaps it would be helpful to take a moment here to lean into that a little bit and to contemplate what that means to you. So if you will, please just sit up comfortably in your chair with your feet flat on the floor. And you can just let your hands rest in your lap. And let's take a good, slow, deep breath in through our nose and pause at the top. And as you exhale, just let your body relax and gently close your eyes. And now in this quiet space, let's just take a moment to contemplate what is the importance of balance in life? And now with that understanding, just take a moment to imagine what a balanced life would look like for you. And now, staying in that space, see if it's possible to reimagine what that balanced life would feel like. And let's take another good, slow, deep breath in. Gently release it and just welcome a little movement back into your body. And just bring your awareness back to the present and open your eyes. Now, hopefully, with that 90 seconds, you got a pretty good sense of why balance is important in your life and what it would look like, and as importantly, what it would feel like. So now with that self-awareness, you can begin to make choices to help cultivate that empowered space of being that lies between all the doing, and then leverage your lifestyle to support that balance.
Yeah, and balance starts to become the main focal point of this entire initiative, Mindfulness at Auburn. When we are out of balance, as John Kabat-Zinn described, things start to go and spiral downward. When we're in balance, as Rita described, we can find ourselves with greater productivity, more equanimity and calmness in our life, as well as vitality, a source of energy. So before we move any further into the pillars of performance and health, we always try to take a bit of a pit stop to share some context and some perspective with our students and with our audience. So it's interesting that in the space of health and well-being, people approach Rita and I and they'll ask us either individually or collectively, hey, we know you're kinesiologists. What exercise protocol should I jump into? Or which facility should I join? Or how many times a week? Or for how long? Frequency, intensity, time. And we kind of just sit back and we wait for the next question, because the next question is typically, well, what about my nutrition? What should I eat? What's a balanced diet? Or how do I wake up in the morning? Should I have kombucha? Should I wait until the nighttime to have a late night snack before I go to bed? All these different questions. And then we kind of sit back and wait. And then the next question is typically, well, what about hydration? Should I drink coffee? Is a glass of wine terrible for me? Is Gatorade better than Powerade? What about coconut water or lemon water? And we've thought about this for a long time. We've always wondered why we're doing things backwards, because it seems like starting with something that we can live the longest without doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So here's the context, here's the perspective. It's not homework that you should try at home or anything. It's just a bit of information. So it's an analogy we use: 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And going back to that question of physical activity and health, again, don't try this, but you could survive if we were all just sitting in our office spaces for about 3 months straight, sedentary behavior. Of course, your low back would maybe ache a little bit. You wouldn't feel too good at the end of the day and week and into the months, but you'll be okay. You'll make it out of that. And as we drop down to 3 weeks, it's been pretty well documented that the human organism can survive 3 weeks without any food, without any nutrients. Again, don't go try this at home. This is not part of mindfulness at Auburn. It's just perspective. 3 days without any water specifically, of course, you'll probably need to see medical attention, but you will survive that. But in as little as 3 minutes, without your next inhale, without your next respiration cycle, you start to get into some serious trouble. So, for example, Exhale everything you have in your lungs right now. Just deplete your lungs. And don't take another inhale for 30 seconds. We're about 10 seconds in. Crossing the halfway mark. 20 seconds. 25 seconds. You kind of get the point. You can take a next breath, of course, take a nice deep inhale. So we generate this perspective because rarely do individuals consider respiration, optimal respiration specifically, as a significant self-care practice. And not only is it a self-care practice, but it supports the productivity, the performance, the equanimity, and the vitality. So this is where Reita and I start with all of our courses, with all of our initiatives, with all of our speaking engagements. We always start with respiration. And that's what this week is all about. So we have a few more minutes before we close. Go ahead and push back from your workstation, and I'm going to guide you through just a few respiration cycles. Make sure you're in a nice, comfortable position. Feet are flat on the floor. You're sitting upright, but you're not too upright to where you're not comfortable. You kind of just want to sit tall with some dignity, but also relaxed. And as you begin to settle in to your chair, if you are sitting down, or if you're standing, just settling into your space, start to become aware of the space, whether you're in your office, or perhaps you're in a different office across campus, or you're working remotely today. Wherever you are physically, just take note of what that feels like and start to draw that awareness down into your personal space, especially that of the body, noticing how the body feels physically. And in doing so, noticing where your mind is. You may be distracted already by something on the to-do list, something maybe you forgot to take care of yesterday. That's totally fine. This is Mindfulness at Auburn, Mindful Mornings. We're just centering ourselves in this moment right now. And maybe tap into the heart, see where your emotional center is feeling. And in doing so, starting to align these three centers, the body, the mind, and the heart. And we do this by way of our breath. So as a group this morning, let's take one purposeful inhale through the nose, expanding the diaphragm, filling up the lungs, and just pausing momentarily at the top, and exhale nice and slowly through the mouth. Nice controlled fashion. Let's do that one more time. In through the nose, pause for a moment, and exhale through the mouth. So let's sit in this space for the next minute, just noticing how your body feels, how your mind feels, and how your heart feels, connected by way of the respiration. If you become distracted, just bring it back to the respiration. Slowly allow your awareness to widen back into your space, and returning your respiration to normal cadence. This is where we're going to start. On Thursday, we're going to dive deeper into optimal respiration. We'll talk about all the benefits associated with respiration from a physiological perspective, both body, mind, and also heart. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your attendance and your engagement. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll see you all on Thursday morning.